to get my tea, but I think that we need to maybe discuss whether we're going to meet, when we're going to meet, and who is going to do what, I think.
Roxana was a firebrand, and she lived with passion and flair, creating spaces in the Academy for the lived realities of immigrant women, feminist, anti-racist praxis, and most recently, for Qigong and embodied learning.
Aside from being a rigorous scholar, she was also a practitioner of what she taught, and was also a strong advocate for students.
Building knowledge among young women and fighting for feminist spaces.
It's not just her great scholarship, her teaching, her support of students, her assertiveness. It's that warmth and generosity of spirit, especially.
This is a tremendous loss for our community. And beyond OISE, it's a great loss for the University of Toronto and for the academic and broader communities around the world with whom Roxana worked and about whom and whose issues she felt so passionately and contributed so much.
I will always remember her wonderful smile, her generosity of spirit, her energy and enthusiasms.
Many of us didn't even know how much she really did dedicate to the community around her.
Roxana started teaching, as you know, at OISE some 25 years ago, but she was also the very first woman of color hired. She was part, in fact, of a small group of pioneering women and men who transformed OISE into what it is now, which is really the only and premier site for scholarship on feminism and anti-racism, and it was largely, for a long time, the work of a very small group, and Roxana was certainly the first of that group. During that time, Roxana became really a leading expert on Canadian political economy and on migration studies.
A lot of women fought for a really long time to have this space created in the late 70s and early 80s, and Roxana came in as the head in 2009 and really took on that legacy in a really humble and dedicated way. Working with her at the center, it meant drinking a lot of tea. She always brought food. It was usually candy. Even when she wasn't supposed to, when we were doing women's health and wellness series.
Roxana strove to ensure that we had employment security, ample opportunities for creative development and personal growth, and also she strove to make sure that we ate, slept, and looked after ourselves.
She brought sort of light and character to every nook and cranny of the workplace. She would often come to meetings laden with her teapot, Chinese takeout, her notebook, where she took very meticulous notes. She rejected the notion that we should know each other only as co-workers. She made space for us to talk about our lives, our feelings, our fears, and she shared herself with us. And she always appreciated people around her. And because of this, in a very real sense, she was the glue of our group.
She was a meticulous supervisor and teacher who shared her experience and knowledge with tremendous enthusiasm and generosity. Many will likely recall her fine penmanship, usually in green ink, and her rigorous comments and suggestions about our work and how to strengthen it. Roxana mentored waves of scholars, and we benefited from her important research, writing, and support.
As part of my committee, she contributed critical insights both when I had absences and when I had excesses. She was key in my own navigation and expression of anti-racist feminist class relations, and also key in my swimming to the surface with conceptual clarity when I felt like I was drowning in my sea of data.
She instilled in all of her students that life is what you make of it. She also taught us how to use conversation to discuss difficult topics like equity and fairness through research.
On top of the many great things that she has done, she also created a family for her students in the academic world. She gave me the opportunity on many different occasions to get to know the generations of scholars who have worked under her supervision and who are now mentors to me and other students. Roxana was my supervisor, my mentor, and my rock. She supported, challenged, and influenced my work and how I approached my research. She was one of the most brilliant people I know, and I feel very privileged to have been under her guidance and care during these past few years. I will always be thankful for everything that she has taught me and done for me. Having known her and worked with her is a gift that I will always cherish.
People would come to her not only because of her intellectual insights and brilliance, but because of her embodied position. She was a woman of color. There was a different connection.
I was really struck by her inclusivity, the way that she made sure all voices were included and heard, and it was certainly a way that she worked with people in the broader community.
Issues related to human rights, economic justice, migration, food sovereignty, and women's rights, among others. Roxana had a passion for many of these issues.
Roxana co-founded the Vancouver Women's Research Centre. Her activism has continued throughout the years with a number of groups, including Garment Sewers, the Chinese Canadian National Council, the Women's Human Rights Education Institute, the Canadian Research Institute for the Advancement of Women, and Inter Pares, a feminist and social justice international development agency.
It was Roxana who inspired me through the courses I took with her during my master's and doctoral program to bridge my research interest and activism. Through my work, my ultimate goal is to improve the current working conditions of Filipino women, especially those who have been trained as nurses in the Philippines and who have immigrated to Canada for employment as domestic workers and live-in caregivers.
I suppose it's hardly surprising that even though she is physically absent, Roxana's grounded, intellectually stimulating presence endures.
Yesterday I came across some email correspondence I had with Roxana at the end of October. We were discussing a project. However, the bulk of her email consisted of a list of 7 or 8 homeopathic remedies, what they are good for, and where I could find them. She ended her message with, "Take good care!" exclamation mark. There's a lot of sickness around, and we are working way too hard. Meditate, nurture yourself, and breathe! Exclamation mark.
I know these words resonate with many of you, as Roxana engaged with us so fully that the boundaries between personal and professional blurred into a relationship in which she was simultaneously a mentor, a friend, a teacher, a caretaker, a truth teller, and a sister.
We designed research projects while we took walks in the park. Many of our meetings were held in High Park during the summer, in fact. We had numerous, what we called researcher and dog data analysis parties. We wrote together, we learned to complete each other's sentences. I really consider it one of my life's greatest fortunes to have had this chance to collaborate with Roxana in this way.
So this is what Roxana gave us and left with us. The gift of her strong, vibrant, and playful spirit.
Roxana's left us a beautiful legacy we will cherish, but which we are also called to rise up and work together to protect. As Roxana often told us, institutions and hegemonic ways of thinking are a bit like a jungle, not in its sense of diversity, but that it's ready to swallow up empty spaces in an instant. Roxana's work and her light and her vision are carried now through all of us, and as we honor that lineage moving forward, we have a responsibility to work together to protect those places that she offered so much of her life and energy to.
Ten times the size it started.